Okay, so welcome everybody. This is our fifth webinar. And it's actually an interesting webinar because with this webinar, we'll be finishing on Module 3. So Module 3 was on self-determination theory and those three basic needs of autonomy, belonging, and competence. Before that, we saw different levels of motivation and different types of motivation. And so now with this webinar, we will sort of review and close up and reflect on these three needs and how they affect our motivation. And then next week, we will start with the fourth module. And the fourth module is on leadership skills. So as you know, self-determination theory is a macro theory of human motivation and human behavior. And so there are components to that theory that deal with leadership. So leadership are the skills that leaders have that nurture the three needs. So this means that at the end of this webinar, we will have all understood the three needs and how they're interconnected and how they help with motivation. And then next week, we'll start saying on what are the behaviors that managers and leaders need to adopt to encourage these three needs and therefore motivation. But before we start, maybe you have some questions that you want to clarify or some concerns. So let's seize the opportunity of being together to see if we can improve this community of practice. Any special requests? No? Okay. So we thought we'd start with some fun stuff. Well, it's fun if you like being embarrassed. So if you like being embarrassed, you'll have fun. If not, you'll just have to grit your teeth. So the idea is we've been talking a lot and writing a lot, but often things get internalized and remembered with pictures and drawings. So with Kahin and Saram, we thought that it would be interesting for us to draw in any type of drawing style that you want, something about motivation. So these are the instructions. I will read them to you. So you are asked, you're invited to answer a question by sketching your response. So the question is, how does the satisfaction of your three needs energize you at work? At work. So those three needs are, as you know, autonomy, belonging, and competence. We had a poll, which we will go back to. But the first thing is try to convey, your feelings about how feeling autonomous, feeling belongingness, and feeling competence energizes you at work. And so if you have 5 minutes to sort of meditate on that. And then the idea is that you draw something. So, a cartoon, a sketch, an infographic, whatever inspires you that would sort of convey that feeling. So that's so for those of you who refuse to draw, then you can sort of meditate over the question for those 5 minutes. But basically, we're giving ourselves 5 minutes to draw the answer to the question, how does the satisfaction of the three needs energize you at work? And so at work, we mean, when you're with the Red Cross Red Crescent, and if you're not right now with the Red Cross Red Crescent, then imagine yourself with the Red Cross Red Crescent, how you would have liked to be energized in your work with these three needs. So I cheated. I already have my drawing ready. So I'll put the timer on. So it's 15:07. And then as you draw, I see some more people are coming in. So I will give the instructions again for the newcomers.
Sorry, Gabriel, for interrupting, but Francesca is telling me something about a AI bot that has been invited to the meeting. I don't know if you have any concerns about that, but Francesca, please explain, because I'm not following you.
Yeah, who's the AI bot?
No, I was just mentioning because I think this meeting is not confidential, so it may be okay. But in general, we prefer not having external bots because then the data is managed by an external company and we
But
can't
who's the bot?
deal with
Where's the
it.
bot? How do you know
Is
there's a bot?
the read.ai.
Who? Sorry, what?
If you see, there is one meeting participant that is not a person, is a bot.
Read AI.
Yeah.
So should we kick them out? Okay, read AI notes, meeting notes. Okay. This person is a meeting guest and doesn't have a Teams account. We can't verify location. So should we kick them out? How do I kick them out? Read AI. Yeah, well,
But
interesting.
I mean, it's sensitive mostly in confidential meetings. That may be okay, but just to
Yeah, but
signal
how
that.
do we get rid of somebody?
I see that
Uh,
Noemi Silvina added read AI.
Yeah, I see
let's
that.
see.
Yeah, so I clicked on it.
Okay.
Oh, it left.
No, I think it's okay. It's out.
Okay,
Oh, so it's
perfect.
so smart. It understood it was not wanted. Okay, that was interesting. So did anybody just join us and wants the instructions? Or we're all good with what we're doing right now? I think we're all good. So basically, just draw anything. Don't really worry about the artistic value of your sketch. Nobody here is a professional artist. And there's just a way of um, thinking differently about what motivates us among those three needs. And then, to be fair, I'll show you my sketch first, so that way I'll be the one to be embarrassed first. And then, if we like our sketches, we can post them on the community of practice. But let's first see if we like our sketches. No pressure. You don't need to share your sketch either. Actually, okay, I'm going to show you mine. Can you see?
Yeah. Wow, you're doing well, Gabriel.
So this is me at work because I always wanted to be a cowboy. And so this is me as a very competent cowboy. He's competent because he's galloping after some cows that escaped. You can't see the cows because they're beyond the envelope. And here, what I feel the most is my autonomy, the freedom of being on a horse and galloping, and not being too worried about falling off the horse. And actually, I belong with the horse. So my sense of belonging is sort of shared with the horse. I'm just one with the horse. So that for me, when I think about these three needs being met simultaneously at work, I feel like being a cowboy, galloping after the cows, and being one with the horse. Who wants to go next? Karine.
Okay. You can see it. I drew a racket because I feel
A
very
rocket.
energetic.
Oh, nice.
You don't see it very well, but because I have the because I have to withdraw the filter behind me. Sorry. Um. Yes, now you see it.
Ah, yes, beautiful. Okay.
So me inside a racket, when the three needs are met, I feel very energetic. It's very nice. And then I made, because I anticipated a bit the discussion we'll have, how I feel if one of those three needs is not met at work. So if I mean, yeah, how to say? I feel very this autonomy is very important for me. So I feel I know it has a lot of influence. So it's the influence it has on my motivation. Then where it's belonging is also quite important. I put 7, and then competence I put 6, because I think that whatever I do, I feel competent even in the interaction with the others. I might feel perhaps a bit less competent if I do not manage the situation. But for me, autonomy is definitely the most important one.
Okay, thank you. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. I'm not a drawer, but this is just me with wings. Instead of arms, I have wings. So I feel very powerful, very energized, and feel like little things that used to bother me a lot before I didn't know how to handle. Now I have the tools how to just overcome them and really achieve more in my work, feel with much more confidence and able to express myself and just move on without so many stress in life.
Excellent. Can you show it again? Because you were a little blurred when you showed it the first time.
Yeah. No.
There, okay.
Just me with some wings instead of arms, just 2 wings.
Okay,
We
excellent.
have you have
Nice.
wings, I have a racket.
Yeah, a rocket. Yeah, and I have a horse. Okay.
We're flying. Okay.
Okay. So who wants to go next? Francesca, you have something to show us?
Yeah, very abstract art. Well,
don't see
wait. Yeah,
Don't show it
how
too
does
close
it
to the camera.
work? Like this.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Oh, okay.
So maybe here you can see. Okay. If the 3 needs are met or were met, or the times they are met, I feel very energetic and like this is supposed to be a kind of positive explosion or light expanding, and it's a mix between explosion of positivity, but also when you throw like a stone in the lake, then there are the waves becoming bigger and bigger, and so also touching other people around. But of course, it's also it's not about it's bi-directional. So there are also the energy of these people that come towards me. So often I would say if the needs are met for one person within a context or within a team, it means that in general the context is quite enabling. So there is a good flow of energy in general.
Nice.
Back to you.
Thank you. Who wants to go next? Thomas, maybe? Thomas?
Okay, sorry about my English. I am improving it.
Don't worry.
I'm knowing that the 3 needs are interconnected, but it depends on the moment. You can feel more energetic in each one. Sorry about my English. Sorry. I have 3.
You have to remove the
can
filter.
see?
No, we have
Okay.
to remove the
Wait.
filter.
Put out the filter. Okay. Sorry. Now you can see my.
Yeah,
my
that's
home.
fine.
Okay. One for autonomy, it's better. One for belonging, and one for competence. The 3 of them, I have my arms up. Okay, that's the common. But in the first one, besides I have not all the autonomy, I try to ask myself, what's the better way to improve it, to get it. In the second one, you can see I'm very happy. and I love working with other people in a team, sharing goals, no? And the last one, well, competence. I think that we have to exercise every day as ourselves, asking to the people what's the sense or the best way to be better. You know, the feedback, have a feedback. I'll expect to speak more or less. I don't know if you have understood me. Sorry.
Gabriel, we don't hear you.
You don't hear?
You-
Yeah, I
No,
put myself
we
on
hear
mute.
you, but
But
Gabriel.
yes, I understood you. I understood you. Yes.
I understood you very well as well, Thomas.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
your
Thanks.
English is
Thanks.
fine. Your English is fine. Don't worry
Thanks.
about your English.
Thanks.
Nancy, you want to show us your drawing, Nancy?
Yeah, well, this is mine. I don't know if you can see this. It's a computer, and I think that the creativity it's involved of the three things, because if I'm create I don't know, like a video, I have a competence with another people and the work in team. So I think the three things it's involved in the creativity. So I like that. This is the main.
Excellent. Yeah, creativity is certainly one consequence of having our three needs met.
Yes.
Who else? Ajmal.
So this is my drawing. So these the eyes represent for me is competency. So like I'm not always maybe competent, and I don't know if you all feel that you're always competent. Sometimes you feel more competent than others, but that's okay because you can learn and improve your competencies. The circle is the belonging, and this is the autonomy. So for me, I think the most important thing very important thing for me is to have this big sense of belonging, and I think that's why I'm still working here, because I'm surrounded by lovely people like you. So it's nice to belong in such a group of people. But a lot of times autonomy is taken away, and that's when I become like this. So
Very nice.
Well done. Well done. Very nice. Yeah. Let's see. Pauline. Pauline, do you want to have a go at it? Does it have to put your camera on? Let's see. And who else is missing?
Okay, shall I go?
Pauline? Yes. Yes. Okay, Katrina, yeah, go.
All right, can you see it?
Okay. Yes. Sort of. We can't read what's written, but we can see a
Okay,
big face.
I will read that. It's a big face smiling with big open eyes. I wrote down feeling complete, answering your question, working with the Red Cross. Feeling complete, a deep smile that really penetrates all of me and all of my work. Fully awake, alert, fully listening, fully there. It is worth it. This is your overall
Beautiful.
feeling.
Okay.
And if I
Excellent.
come back to some points other people mentioned, if we feel any weaknesses, if the three are there, then it builds on each other. And it's very difficult to lose it. But okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Alexei. Let's see your
Well, sorry. Yeah, basically I decided not to try my hand at drawing, but I got a pretty clear picture of what I wanted to draw in my head. So here is a link just for you to get a catch at it. I thought basically the lack of autonomy, I imagined this as this great panopticon, this great a prison, the wholly transparent one with all the glass windows and all the glass walls, when you're being constantly watched by your superiors and your colleagues. And I basically, while doing the introspection, I realized that it's probably the one thing that annoys me most. It's when I'm constantly being watched. Not even if they actually comment or make me do something else, but the mere act of watching somehow annoys me already. So to improve on this panopticon thing, basically, when I have my autonomy, I mean, I'm all for transparency, but paradoxically, for me, autonomy is being less transparent. Yeah, less available for inspections, and so that maybe those walls and ceilings are not made of transparent glass, but maybe it's like one-way mirror glass, or it's the glass that could be made more or less transparent at whim, at will, And I think that this concept can actually explain the other needs as well. Like, I mean, obviously you do some useful work in prison, yeah. So some socially useful work. It's if your prisoner is good, then yeah, but he'll ensure that what you're doing is also good for the society at large. And so they may train you to do it, and then you feel competent, and then you feel that reformation, that you're reforming by doing something useful for the people whom you have wronged in the past. That's why you got into the prison in the first place. And as for belonging, yeah, so maybe the tweak to do is that you are actually enable all the inmates to communicate with each other, to interact with each other, and so that in the end you all belong the same. And ideally you like eat and socialize for some time in the day together with your jailers, so that basically, yeah, your guards and your watchmen, you still feel like you're part of the same collective effort as they are, because you're still all trapped in the same prison, even though they are the jailers and you're the prisoners.
Wow. Okay, that was very insightful. As you started, it got me thinking. We're talking a lot about about transparency and compliance, and what's happening with all these transparency rules and all these rules for compliance is it is decreasing our autonomy to take decisions, because the more we're observed and the more we have rules to follow, the less we can take personal initiative, and that is taking away our autonomy. And there's even no really person we can complain to because it's the rules. So that's a very good point. I hadn't seen it that way, but every time there's a new bureaucratic rule, I feel somewhat oppressed, and now I understand why. So I'll be thinking about your drawing, and so and I think it's a problem in the Red Cross, honestly, because since we're getting subsidies and there's a great reputational risk if money gets lost. And so there are more and more controls, and now it's very difficult to take a decision. And it's always safer for ourselves to ask 5 different people to sign off on any decision, to protect ourselves from any risk of being non-compliant. But that is taking its toll, I think, on us all, because it is taking away autonomy and the sense of empowerment that we can actually take decisions and be mature adults that are trusted. Yeah. So thank you, Alexei. Any other comments?
I wanted to react on the one of Alexei and your analysis also, Gabriel, because for me, what you say, Gabriel, it's true for macro level, but at the micro level, for individual, if you work with other people and you are not transparent, then you might lose the trust other might have in you, and in the end, the result with that is that everybody will lose autonomy, or will have to show more what they are doing, so will be more control. So I think that's interesting to have this reflection on the macro level and the micro level.
Okay, good point. Yes, Francesca.
I just wanted to add something on this that came to my mind while Karin was speaking. I think that Alexei, you had of course you put yourself at the center. Well, you were not at the center. You were one of the cell, and in the panopticon there could be a manager or someone else. But given that we will be transitioning also into the leadership module, I was thinking that what Karin was saying about being transparent is maybe even more important for leaders, because if the decisions the leaders made, if leaders are not fully transparent, of course something should be confidential, no doubt about this. But if the people working in a team do not understand why they're heading in some directions, then it's not only autonomy that is hindered, but also competency in that case, and also belonging. So it may go both ways.
Absolutely, a very good point. Absolutely. So indeed, next week we'll start with the leadership, and we'll have to keep that in mind when we discuss leadership skills.
Pauline
can
had
I add
something on the chat. She had a picture, 3 balloons with smiley faces soaring. That's how I feel for all.
Nice. Okay.
Can I say something about to you, Oleski, about what you described? Because it was amazing what you described, and it hit me how true it is that we're all trapped at whatever level we may be. You said everybody has to communicate with each other because they're all there because of the environment, and we end up all being trapped in the same thing. And maybe this is one of the reasons why we're not really doing something to free ourselves. We just accept it as a daily routine, and there's nothing I can do about it, at whatever position we may be. But we can actually do a lot of things. But it's amazing the way you described it. Thank you. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Well, it's not my idea, to be sure, but it's just something which I really your question strongly reminded me of.
Good. Well, I feel this was a useful exercise. So maybe it's an exercise that we can take in team discussions. So after a team of volunteers, for example, does a Moti survey and you're sort of discussing the different needs, getting people to draw the needs and how they react to these dreams might be a nice way of freeing people and giving them the autonomy and the space to speak freely about how they feel. So I thought that was a useful exercise, even though I think we can all take art drawing lessons, but still it worked. So, well, I suggest we go to the next point in this webinar. Karin posted on the community of practice a poll, which I thought we thought we would now look at and comment. But before we do that, it would be great if those of you that did not answer the questions in the poll, which is in the timeline in the community of practice, that you do so quickly, and then we'll have a little more answers to work on and to discuss. So the idea is for us to discuss the poll, but first, answer the poll. So for that, you have to go to the community of practice and either ponder the results or answer the questions and then ponder the results. So I will open it up on my end. So Karin, do you want to?
Yes, I can, but we already have 9 responses. Don't have more. Do you see more?
So there are more than 9 of us. Or are there just 9 of us? So if you haven't done it, please complete the poll. It's 3 questions. It'll be very quick, and then we'll comment it.
Then I have to refresh the screen. 10. We have 10 responses.
Very good.
Okay, so with the first question, we have: do all the 3 needs energize you the same degree at work? So we have 70% of no and 30% of yes. I would be happy to hear. So perhaps, I don't know if you answer the poll, but for those who answer the poll, what do you think? Why did you answer one way or the other way?
So we do have a majority of people who say that the three needs affect their motivational levels differently. So that's an interesting point.
Somebody
so
want to
personally,
comment? Yay, Thomas, thank you.
Okay. I answer no because I'm not the same with the same level for the three needs every day. Depends on how I slept, how is my humor, what happens with my partners, the problems of the day. Then if I have a trouble with my boss or difference, then that's why I say that they are interconnected. I have to put in three different boxes with a summon. Summon is okay. Okay, with a summon of them, but my level changes every day, and I have to ask to myself. Shut up.
Very nice, thank you. And any other reaction?
Francesca.
Maybe quickly just to share, I also answered no, and I was thinking more in terms of qualitative answer than quantitative answer. So somehow is also one need may give more motivation than other, but mostly for me, they're really different in the way they motivate. So if they're satisfied, they motivate me in different ways. So belonging motivates in a certain way that is very different from competence or autonomy. So that's the reason for my no.
Thank you. I really like this answer as well. Somebody wants a yes, perhaps? Somebody here? Or do we have somebody? No? So we keep it those reactions that we have. So I really like those. So one point is that they do not motivate us the same way. Thank you, Francesca. And I'm sure they are all interconnected, but every day could be a bit different. That's what I got from Thomas. Any other reaction, or otherwise we move to the second question? So we move to the second question. Which one energizes you the most at work? Select one. And that's very nice because we have really different answers. So some people answered autonomy, 30%, 30% belonging, and 40% competence. So I answered autonomy, but would be interested to hear other point of view. I answered perhaps autonomy because for me, I think that's the one that has more impact on my motivation if I am autonomous. But belonging is not so far away, I would say. That's my personal point of view. But I don't know if you have other point of views. Yeah, Ekaterini?
I put down belonging because if I don't feel I really belong there, then there's no teamwork and autonomy is automatically violated. And no matter how competent or not competent I may be, I cannot really do much.
Thank you.
So it's part of being accepted to be freed to do things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I put autonomy also because I feel that if I'm given the autonomy, I can then actually choose who I want to work with. And I will choose to do things the way that I know I can, or that I know I can learn how. So my autonomy allows me to meet the other two needs. Whereas if I'm told exactly what to do, how to do it, and with whom I will do it, then that sense of belonging and sense of competence won't be as strong. Even though I can still learn. So autonomy seems to allow me to do things the way I want. So competent and work with who I want, belonging.
Any other reaction? No? So we move to the third question. Which one of you, which one would you miss the most
Karin?
if none were? Yes?
Sorry, I think Nancy wanted to say something.
Oh, sorry, Nancy, please come.
Yeah, don't worry. Well, thinking about the three things, maybe it's change. Depends of the situations. No, I think that I'm not in one in a different situation. Maybe it's belong when we work in team, but when I work alone, maybe it's autonomy. So it's change. It depends situation. Well, I think that.
Okay, thank you. Nobody wants to react? No? So thank you. We move to the third question. Which one would you miss the most? Sorry, I cannot read. If none were satisfied at work, select one. So we have autonomy 50%, belonging 20%, and competence 30%. Who wants to react first? So
Was that a
like,
trick?
yeah.
Was that a trick
Yeah.
question? Because it took me a while to actually answer the third one. Because I found it because I answered autonomy on the second part, and then the third part I was like, well, there is a trick somewhere, but I did still stick to my autonomy there, I would say, and for all the reasons you talked about before. But maybe just to share some things, like for me too as well, autonomy is very, very important, and then sometimes you do have too much autonomy. You don't want that. So in some cases, you kind of feel like you're just left alone somewhere. So you also need to feel that, let's say I have managers on top of me, so I would like them to also be a bit more present sometimes, maybe to get things done and so on. But I completely agree with, and sometimes I was just fixated on that. But then it's also how do you then take advantage of that autonomy, as Gabriel was saying, then you can choose who you work with and everything else, and that makes such a difference. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
And
Yeah.
it was the aim of the question, to make you think. we thought a lot with Alexi and Gabriel to formulate these questions.
And Salam, yes.
And-
So I can answer the question too at a personal level. So I burnt out maybe twice in my life. I mean, real burnouts where I had to stop working and all that. And both times I was being micromanaged. Both times I had a boss or people who were just telling me every single 5 minutes exactly what I needed to do. And I really burnt out because as they did that, not only did I have no autonomy, but I had no sense of feeling competent. Because when you have somebody telling you what to do in minute detail, that means you're not competent. Because if they actually saw me as being competent, then they would not have done that. And if I had seen myself as being competent, I would have told them to stop micromanaging me. So it's probably true that I was not very competent. And so then that put them in a situation where they had to explain everything to me and tell me exactly what I needed to do. And that in both cases, that led to a burnout. The second time, I'm pretty sure it was my boss who was being neurotic and not me who was incompetent, but it was still very hurtful. So I think if of all the three needs, if you take away my autonomy and you micromanage me, it will not go down well.
Thank you, Gabriel. Anybody wants to react? So there we have reaction also on the chat. Okay, I comment the one on the chat. Alexi, was it for this question, the first intervention, that where you think that competence is a bit overrepresented?
Well,
Because
basically for the second and the third
I
one.
was for the second one. Okay, so I moved to the third one. Sorry, I missed
No,
it.
no, I mean that's true for both the second and the third one. I think.
Okay, so you think that competence is overrepresented here because the people who usually gather in the who are interested in being competent are the one who come in this kind of event, such as Motiro Webinars. So yeah, you're really true. For the third question, Salam, I choose the belonging because for Salam it is very important to feel that I belong to a team or to a group to work with. And last reaction, and there is no bigger letdown for me than a feeling that I failed myself, my team, and red cross, the feeling which usually leads directly to myself not feeling competent.
So yeah, so Karine and everybody, I think it would be worthwhile posting your comments on the timeline, the community of practice, and not on this chat. So that way we can share our thoughts with other people and actually keep them in mind. So I will ask you now, and I should have said it before, but if you could please copy and paste the comments you put in the team chat into the post where you have the poll. So that
and
way we'll,
which question it relates.
right. So wherever you see fit, because I some of these points are really important and I want them to be documented and to stay with us in the timeline. Because the Teams chat is going to disappear, but the timeline is going to stay. So if we could all take just 1 minute and then just copy and paste what you put in the chat and you paste it into the timeline. That way the conversation can continue after this meeting with other people who were not able to join us.
And the last comment was the one from Pauline. I answered competence. I feel effective and capable to take on challenges, persist in difficulty. Anyone wants to react on the third question?
Yeah, and react in the timeline.
Please, yeah. Okay, so let's move to the third question. Gabriel, you want to take over? Or Salam? I don't know. Is Salam?
Well, I want to give everybody 1 minute to copy what they put in the chat into the timeline, because I don't want to lose your thoughts. And as we do that, and so as you copy and paste, the third question, and maybe Salam, can you post it also on the timeline? Is he here? Is Salam here? Can't see him now. Okay, maybe Karine. So we can post this next point. And the post is, do you think all this is also true for volunteers? In your national society, in your branch, in your context. So we've been talking about ourselves. We've been talking about ourselves, and some of us at least, or most of us are perhaps staff or employees in the Red Cross, Red Crescent. But some of us also have responsibilities vis-a-vis volunteers. So the question is, do you think what we've just discussed about ourselves is also true to volunteers? And in your national society and in the branch where you work? And are there differences between staff and volunteers when it comes to satisfying those three needs?
I've put it, if you refresh, you will see the question.
Very good. So I suggest we sort of reflect on what we've just learned about the three needs, the satisfaction of the three needs, the frustration of one of the three needs. How does that apply to volunteer management? How is that relevant when it comes to leading a team of volunteers, for example? And so if you could post on the timeline your reflections, that would be great. And so we give ourselves maybe 3 or 4 minutes to reflect on this question. And then we can also continue reflecting on the other questions that we discussed before. And then we just post our thoughts in the timeline, because we need to populate the timeline with your ideas. And so let's give ourselves maybe 3 minutes to reflect. and then we'll start looking at the different posts on the timeline. Okay, please repeat. So what we're doing now is we're reflecting on the following question. We've discussed up to now on how the satisfaction of our need for autonomy, belonging, and competence affects our motivation, and which of the needs affects it the most. And we saw that there were differences between people. And then when you take away one need, like say autonomy, then that also has negative consequences. So now the question is, does this also apply to volunteers? So what we discussed, is it also true for volunteers, or is it just true for us because we might be staff or employees? And so how is it different for volunteers? If it's different, then what does that mean on how we need to lead teams of volunteers? So there's sort of two questions here. Are employees and staff the same when it comes to the three needs? And then if there are differences, well, what does that mean in terms of volunteer management? Because very often volunteers are managed by staff, by employees. And you're free to interpret my question any way you want, and you're free to not answer the question and just post your comments. We know whatever you feel is relevant. And so maybe 2 more minutes, and then we'll sort of look at all your different posts in the timeline. And don't forget to refresh when you're on the community of practice. Interesting.
Gabriel, should we perhaps comment?
Yeah, I'm reading the comments. So yes, so Karin, go for it, or whoever wants to speak up. We'll just do what Karin tells us to do, I think.
No. I'm a bit lost with my screen, sorry. So, or perhaps Oleski, you want to comment what you said? Perhaps the easiest way, no?
Yeah, so basically what I wrote is that I would say that, for example, autonomy, which I decided to concentrate on, it's definitely important for both staff and volunteers, but they might go about it in different ways. Like for example, the decision ability to make one's own decision in general, it might sometimes be more available for the staff, because like the decision-making process which takes place in our branches, our volunteers often tend to perceive that as something which frankly doesn't inspire them too much, which is a bureaucratized process and everything. So the staff is often more enthusiastic about it than the volunteers. But then the volunteers more often, as they don't receive the financial compensation, their ability to be able to fulfill themselves, for self-actualization. So that aspect of autonomy, basically being able to move in the direction and to basically act in the way which they deem fit, for them is often more important than about being able to make the decisions. So basically, the decisions about them and them only is more important to them than the decisions regarding the fate of the branch or the national society at large.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm.
Who wants to comment more?
From my side, I made this a distinction on both competence and belonging. First of all, I think that all the trainings are relevant also for volunteers, but again, it may be different level or qualitatively different between staff and volunteers. Belonging may be stronger for volunteers as a need, or it's what could really motivate and keep a volunteer within the organization. While we saw that, for instance, among staff, even only the small group here, it was an important need, but maybe not the 100% of us answer belonging as the most important need to be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And competence, it was just a reflection. I was thinking that maybe it's truly also for volunteers, I believe, I'm a volunteer myself. It's good to feel that you're good in doing what you're doing as a volunteer, but it's kind of more acceptable if you're not and you need to learn and you're there to learn and to improve yourself. It should be also for staff, but we do not live in an ideal world, so it's maybe a little bit less accepted. So it may be, it may put more pressure for staff if a staff does not feel competent enough, if the environment does not enable the staff to admit it and to learn. While for the volunteer, it may be a more enabling in this term. So you're there also to learn, and that's fine.
Mm. Thanks.
More reaction? Somebody courageous?
So what's interesting with Motiro is we can actually test these hypotheses. So we have now data from over 6,000 volunteers, and probably probably a lot of staff too, like 600 or 700 staff. And then very soon we will have survey results from Ukraine, where both staff and volunteers will be given the same questionnaire. And so we'll be able to compare for Ukraine those differences. So what you said all makes sense. All of it makes sense, and it all rings true. So we'll see if the statistics support what we've said. But what I can tell you already is that in general, volunteers do better in most of the motivational outcomes than staff do. And it seems that the three needs are higher also for volunteers than they are for staff. And I think it was, and for many national societies, it's belonging is actually stronger for volunteers than for staff. And there's this idea that volunteers volunteer because they want to belong to the Red Cross, whereas staff very often end up in the Red Cross because they need the salary. And they're less likely to leave their autonomy is being undermined, or if another of the needs is met. So in a nutshell, every single human being needs to be autonomous and to belong and to feel competent. But as some of you pointed out, in different degrees, depending on the day, on the situation, and maybe even the local culture. And so it's how the relative importance of these needs might vary, but all three needs are basic to all human beings. Maybe in a future webinar we will be or on the timeline we'll be presenting these results, these differences between staff and volunteer. So if you're really interested, we can actually do a webinar just on that. Karine,
I think we over.
I think we're just on time.
Just on time.
2 more minutes. 2 more minutes for any other questions.
To just present a little bit what we'll do in the next months on the community of practice.
Okay, but first we'll listen to Alexi.
And Alexi also wants to intervene and say
go for it, Alexi.
Yeah, just to announce that basically, yeah, next week I will be hosting that regular I4C Europe and Central Asia Network webinar on volunteering. So I'll tell something about how Ukrainian Red Cross Society has been dealing with issues and challenges facing us specifically for volunteering development since the beginning of the full-scale armed invasion in 2022. So yeah, I think I'll post the link in the community of practice. So please feel free to join. But of course, it's entirely at your own discretion whether to do so. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes. Please put it in the community of practice. Excellent. Thank you for the invitation. So what will we be doing next week? Starting next week in the community of practice, we will be now going into the leadership skills that nurture these three needs. So according to self-determination theory, the way leaders behave and the way everybody else behaves actually can improve the or frustrate the meeting of these three needs in a team or in an organization. So there are 3 or 4, 5, 10 skills that leaders should have, but we focus on 3 key skills, and these skills are, and then I won't tell you now because I don't want to spoil the suspense. So I think, Karine, I think we can stop here, and unless if there are questions. And then in 4 weeks, there'll be yet another webinar. It'll be webinar number 6, and that's when we'll be talking about leadership. But between now and that 6th webinar, we'll be posting and discussing leadership on the community of practice.
We have to see with the vacation, Gabriel. We don't know exactly when it will be. No? Or
well, 19th of July, I'll be here.
Okay.
But so it's okay. Well, we'll just post it for in 4 weeks. And if people can't make it, we just might cancel. So this means that if you're available in Wednesday in 4 weeks, say that you will attend. And if nobody clicks on the attend button, then we'll just cancel the webinar and until whenever people are back, which would then probably be
on the
September.
17th. Yeah, on the 17th of July.
Okay, so I'll post it, and then if nobody can make it, no problem. We'll just postpone.
I am there. I am available.
Okay. So at least the 2 of us will be there. We'll have the webinar. There's the 2 of us then.
Well, we need some participants as well. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's been super insightful. I learned a lot. So thank you very much for your inputs. And please continue going on the community of practice and continue posting things because they're all incredibly valuable. And we will be using your insights to further develop Motiro and the volunteering knowledge pack. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice
Thanks to all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.